3 major elements involved in a ramp up from our perspective. Number 1, prepare the body. First step, prepare the body. Full body wake up warm up. What does that look like? There's so many ways to do it. What did you say, a lunge matrix? What did you call it?
Yeah, lunge matrix.
See, I don't even know what that is, but that sounds impressive. Leave it to Carson. I love him. So that's good, right? So that's a full body warm up, right? Is it right? So that's what that is, right? I can't wait for you to show that to us. We'll call it the Carson warm up. All right. The next one, the next phase is arm care. Now that our body's hot, now we can move into our arm care. And the third one is prepare the delivery, the throwing specific ramp up. Now, what do most of your kids, if you've never taught them or they're new to you, what do they think their warm up is? All 3. It's the number 3. That's what everybody thinks. I pick up a ball and I go get warm. That's 3. That's the last part. It's not the first part or the second part. It's the last part. So they skip the other 2 and they wonder why. So what happens to injury rates if they only go to 3? It goes up. What happens to recovery if you only go to 3? It goes down. There's just a lot of things that are bad on that, right? So here's what it looks like to us. Preparing the body, see the ramp up. Okay? And then we prepare the arm. It gets a little bit more intense. And then we prepare the delivery, and then we're going full bore intensity in a game against a hitter. This gradual ramp up over an hour or 45 minutes is what ideally, and I could have made it longer than that, but I just give it kind of a standard. This is the standard major league warm up is 45 minutes, right? This is how we view it. Now, what your athletes do or what you believe you should do in the green or what you believe you should be doing in the orange or the yellow and what you believe we should be doing in the red, that's totally up to you. But I think there's clearly 3 phases that you need to go through, right? If it's possible, right? So this is ramp up number 1, unlimited. Here's ramp up. Here's what your emergency ramp up looks like, right? This is what your emergency ramp up. You may not have time for a full ball. You got to go right into arm care. You may not have that. So you better have a plan on that, right? We don't want to do this very often, but we want to have it as an emergency, right? In case you have to do that, there you have it. And you have your best thing going forward. Here's the ramp up for 2 to 20 minutes, and these are all in your notebooks, and then here's a ramp up. So you can see from the beginning, that's a much more gradual ramp up. This is what we want. Now, some of you would go, well, that's good for a reliever. For a starter. I'm telling you, if you're smart, your reliever can have, I'll guarantee you, Mo Rivera had that gradual, and who was the reliever for San Diego for all those years? Hoffman. I'll guarantee you, he had that gradual, right? They have their own routine. It's 9 innings long, right? Right? So, we're trying to get a gradual ramp up. The more steep the ramp up, the more problematic this is for us, right? Okay, so now, preparing the body. Here's what I do, and we're almost done with this for me. Now, what do we do? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of our players. I'm going to use Carson, since he's been here many, many times. And I don't have the lunge matrix on this yet. Okay, so we have a menu, right? This is our job. This is my job. So let's say if Coach Foley hired me tomorrow and I'm over there, and I'm going to go work with the pitchers, I would have all of our kids would know rugbies, and they would know hip mobility, and they know ladders and hurdles, they know Spider-Man series, and then after they get to know that, I would say, okay. Let's rank those 0 to 10. Let's rank those 0 to 10. How much do you like rugbies, right? So let's take Cade and Garrett. They warmed up yesterday, right? Cade may rank rugby at an 8, and Garrett may rank it at a 9 or a 10. And so then we go to a hip mobility. Garrett may rank it a 7, and Cade may rank it a 2. And so you kind of figure out. Now, you know what most people do? They have one warm-up, and then everybody's got to do that, and this is what we do, right? I like to have multiple ones that would make sense to you, right? If you had all of your pitchers, everybody's gonna have a different opinion on it. So once again, this is how I would hyper-personalize at the end. Everybody would do this at first, and then we would, from that foundation, now we start to have them choose favorites. It's almost like eating in a smorgasbord. I like the shrimp, but I don't want the Jell-O, right? Okay. Then we go to the preparation of the arm. Same thing, all of our arm, elastic tubing. If you were here last night for the hands-on, we have elastic tubing, mitting bands, pummel balls, shoulder tube, wrist weights, Dura throw sock, weighted balls. I have the band. You didn't mean the mini bands. You meant the mini bands. The Jaeger bands, the Oats specialty bands, Jaeger band. Okay. Sorry, I didn't get that in there. So obviously you can't pitch for me, Carson. I don't have any of your stuff in here. No, the seriously part, though, is that'd be part of the thing that he would pick from, right? And then we go to the preparation of delivery, right? So what do you do? What do you like to do? Do you like to go any of these, or you just go on the mound and throw? And that's okay, too. At this stage, if you want to just get on the mound and throw, I'm okay with it, right? A ranch guy, probably, what would you do? Would you do step behind with arm swings first, or what would you do, Carson? See, so he would pick marshals, quick picks, and then throw on the mound, right? Okay, so some other people may just do step behind arm swing. But what it does is it allows them to customize that. And I'll take you through all this. But now, in a second, how we can really even narrow this down more. But this is the preparation. So there's actually 3 phases, right? The body. Now, gentlemen, don't miss this. If all I did was the body, and I'm scheduled to throw, let's say this is what I don't want you to miss. My window of opportunity, and this was probably a lot of times in college, my window was from, let's say, at Nebraska, my window wasn't even there, but let's say my window was if we played our 7th game of the week. But if I'm in Nebraska and they said, I'm gonna go in between the 3rd and the 4th inning. So in the 1st inning, I start my body stuff and I start to get hot. Then it looks like I'm not going to pitch, and I go shut down. Have I lost anything? No. Am I better off than if I just sit there in the chair for those 3 innings? Absolutely. Right? That's the power of this. I can shut it down any time prior to throwing, and I haven't lost anything. Right? What about it? What about if I went a little bit further and things started to go bad and I did my body, and I did my arm, and then I shut it down? I haven't thrown a ball yet. Anything bad happen so far? No. Anything that would preclude me from doing that tomorrow night? No. Is that good then? Yeah. Right? This is what we miss. What we think of, here's where most people, in my opinion, miss. They have 2 guys in the bullpen just sitting there. This guy didn't do anything for 8 innings. We go, that's good. He's ready for tomorrow night. Is he really? He didn't do anything, right? This guy did his body work, did his arm care, and then shut down. He didn't throw a pitch. Which one is more ready for tomorrow night? I think all of us would say this guy is much better. Well, why? What keeps us from doing that? And the answer is nothing. It's free. Just organization, just planning. All right. Ramp is not the same as throwing. Entire process of getting ready is not the same as throwing full speed to a catcher, right? The preparation of arm can be done every night, and in fact, I'm going to go back through it again. Preparation of the body and preparation of the arm can be done every night, and in fact, several times a night without deleterious effects. Now just imagine that. Several times a night. I can have a double header and you could get me up twice, and if I hadn't thrown, there's no deleterious effects to it. I'm ready for the next night. So help each and every one of your pitchers create their own ideal ramp up. So the process is this. We rate each fully body wake up warm up, their favorite to their least favorite. We do the same thing with our arm care, and we do the same thing with our preparation of delivery. Then what we do, and here's the thing you have in your sheet, Then we start to have them fill out. Helps them fill out what their warm-up, their ramp-up is. So if I have no time constraints, I want you to give me 3, and Carson did. He would do his lunge matrix, right? He gets to pick 3 body dynamic warm-up exercises if he wants to. Maybe it's just 1, but it could be 3. Preparation of the arm, he can have 3 different choices. Preparation of delivery, he can have a couple of those, and then he goes full speed polish. Now, as he starts to go to ramp up 4, well, we go 2, he gets some of those started to be limited, right? Now, because now we don't have as much time, now you're kind of narrowing that down to your favorites, right? And then you get to ramp up 4, and now it's just you don't even have a body. You have 1 arm, you have a couple throwing one pre-delivery, and there you go. Now, you put all that out, and now your guy has a structure to follow. And this is where I think you should have your meetings with your players, right? Show me your ideal warm-up. Now, some of you think that's kind of messy. To me, what's the chance of him doing his warm-up that he picked and he chose better than any other warm-up? Because it's his. We talk about it all the time. We talk about accountability, right? We want our players to be accountable, right? Because when they go on the mound, nobody can help them. Right? You're on the mound, it's you. We can call the pitch for them, but they still have to execute it. So in my opinion, we want to try to create accountability at the very beginning, right? And as Carson knows, if you're at the ranch doesn't stand over you and talk down to you. The ranch kind of tries to run alongside you and see how we can help, right? Trying to find out what's the best way for you to do things, right? Because at the end of the day, you're going to be held accountable to your own performance. So my final thoughts are this. Obviously, workload and overuse are not the preeminent causes of injury. There are ample evidence to suggest otherwise. So I didn't bring it up, and they're in your notebooks. Thank you. But what is the most common month of Tommy John injury in professional baseball? What's the most common month? A couple months. That would be March and April. All right? March and April. Now, I'm sure that doesn't surprise one person in this building. In a couple months, I'm going to be speaking at the ASMI. The number one thing that ASMI or most orthopedic surgeons are worried about is what? Workload, pitch count. How much workload is on a major league pitcher in the month of March? How much has his workload been? Very limited, right? What's the least common month of Tommy John injury? October. Where's the highest amount of workload eventually? October. So this workload stuff is false. It's false. It doesn't mean that workload doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Workload is an individual measure, not a universal one. And workload has to be viewed in context, right? And there's a lot to that context, not just one thing to the context, right? So what we're looking at is an athlete's physical structure, to us, is more important than workload. The efficiency of his movement pattern is more important. The steepness of his ramp up is far more important. And the efficacy of the athlete's training programs in total are more influential to injury than workload. Those are the things you need to be focusing on, right? I just saw, I'm sorry, Lee, with the mask, I didn't recognize you there. So good to see you. But this is one of the things that you're really in a treat for pretty soon is that Lee's going to be talking about it, and the athletics training program in total is what he's really phenomenal at. This is what we're really dealing with. So understanding those things, the physical structure of your pitchers, their movement patterns, how they move, the steepness of the ramp is really, I think, under talked about. The steepness of the ramp up is so important. And the efficacy of the athletes training program in total, right? The current operating procedure with regards to the game time preparation of relievers is not effective and proven and time tested. I believe the current standard operating procedure is incredibly inefficient and reactive, right? And I would say that I would actually give credit to Tampa Bay and the Dodgers in some degree. And I've had this multiple conversations with Brent Strom multiple times, and Derek Johnson now with the Reds, and Wes Johnson and several other, Dewey Robinson. The way we view how we deal with our staffs is changing. And thank goodness, it's time that we start to view how we deal with them. Unfortunately, most of us we're going to revert back to the same guys over and over again, and you don't really develop the staff. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. Here's when it bites us in the butt. If we want to win one game, all of you know what pitchers you've got to use to win one game. Unfortunately, when you've got to win a series of games, or you've got to win, it's longer than that, not just one game. Your staff, your ability, how you have developed your staff will really come and show up. Because speaking now specifically about colleges, one of the failures of a lot of colleges is that when they go play their 3-game series, they will use the same guys in that 3-game series over and over and over again. And then when they get in the regionals and it becomes a 5-game series, it becomes a real crap show. Because they're pitching in guys that have never pitched before, right? And that's not the time to figure out if your guy can pitch or not. And I know that everybody, so Coach Foley, how many guys do you have on your staff that you would actually say that could actually pitch if you're going to have them pitch? Okay, what about you, Jimmy? Okay. Poor Jimmy. Okay. So here's my point, right? So the guy that you have that right now is not in your mix, what you've got to figure out is how the guys on the edges can actually contribute some during this slog, because what that will do, that will save your guys that are really crucial to actually make it. So we kind of found this out. I don't know if you guys remember the Indians and the Cubs World Series of several years ago, when they started utilizing their closers differently, right? And earlier in that series, when they put Chapman in, I think it was Allen the closer for the Indians, or I can't remember who that was. Was it Flint, Allen? Okay, and so we're using them earlier in the, and so the first couple games, it was brilliant, right? People were like, that was a brilliant move. When they got to the 6th and 7th game, it didn't look so brilliant, because Chapman's now down at 94 miles an hour and getting lit up. And you're like, right? Because what happened? He got worn out. He wasn't used to doing that. And by the time the 7th game comes around, that had a whole other dynamic to it, right? And this is what happens. So you got to find the ways that every person in your group can find a way. So who's the guy, Jim? Here's what I would say to you. Who's the guy that you go, I don't see how he can help us? Work toward finding a way that he could give you one out if you needed to. What's the specific way he could throw, right? So for example, he doesn't have a very good fastball, but he has a fairly good changeup. And so you're going to bring him in to face Bryce Harper, right? Find the matchup, right? And maybe you only use him 3 or 4 times in the whole course of the year, but find a way to develop your staff. This is how we should look at this. One monolithic universal system will work very well for most relievers. It will not. Logic will dictate a customized, hyper-personalized system, especially a system where the individual athletes themselves are involved in its design. Please, please, I know that it gets to be messy to have your athletes be involved in the design process. I'm going to tell you, it is very important because when they are in charge, or at least they have some input, I don't mean maybe in charge, but if they have some input in their design of what they're going to do, you're going to have a lot better buy-in, right? I don't think you guys are any different than me. I don't like to be told what to do and have no say in the process. I hate that. I'm awful at that. I mean, I'm more like to just resist you if you told me to do something, right? But if you bring me in and have me be part of the problem, I'm much better at trying to help, right? Games are indeed unpredictable. However, that does not mean the coach and manager can't or shouldn't look at his pitching staff in its entirety and afford advanced pitching planning for his individual pitchers and help prepare them to maximize their potential contributions. Please communicate with your guys. And number 5, preparing to enter a game should be far more than just throwing. In the opinion of the Texas Baseball Ranch, the ramp up involved preparing the body, preparing the arm, preparing the delivery, and the final polished throws. To miss this distinction, in our opinion, would be to place the athlete at unnecessary risk or impeded performance. So hopefully I get you guys to think differently on how you utilize, if you're a coach, this is really simple, how you utilize your relievers. If you're an academy owner, how you use this is that you try to prepare your guys that if they're in the bullpen, and most of the bullpens, so is anybody in the bullpen with your guys? Or is it just, who's down there? Are you down there with them? No. You're in the dugout. Who's down there with them?
Well, once they go through whatever the situation is, then I'll go down there to oversee the mound.
Okay.
I'm the one down there.
Okay. Are they down there at all very much without anybody? They're just on their own? Okay. Todd, what about yours? Are they down there by themselves for them? Okay. So now, this is common, right? So either they're down there by themselves. Either we educate them and we help them. That doesn't mean they're going to get it all right. I mean, this is the real world, right? But at least if we can give them some guidance and some structure, they're going to have a better chance to get more done than we just go, good luck, hope you figure it out. Because I've been in those bullpens, and I was in college, and it was bullpen, and it was, I just put it this way, there's not a lot of productive things going on down there, right? Right? They're killing time, right? So they're killing time. They need to be distracted. So we distracted ourselves, right? With all sorts of silly stuff. What happens if you would give them a lifeline to say, okay, this is what, and that doesn't mean they're always going to do it, but at least you got a better chance of them progressing that way. All right?